Welcome to Andrea Lake 101, the making of a billionaire. You guys, number one, I am so sorry that I have been gone for the last 2 weeks. I have been cuckoo pants, crazy nuts, busy beyond. For anyone new, this is the very fastest recap. In 2023, I came back into these companies. They were $1.84 million in debt. The business was doing $438,000 in annual revenue. That is $1,200 a day in revenue. And spoiler alert, it cost $1 million to run that company. So yikes. That was on 9/9/2023. And I have been back in this company for about 2.5 years, rebuilding it. We are now currently, right now, up to $8,012 a day in revenue, up from $1,200 a scant 2 years ago. This year, we are hoping to go all the way up to about $22,000 a day in revenue. So we will triple from where we are right now, which is a lot. We have to start boogieing as it is July. We do have a ton of stuff that we're launching. We did just launch holographics. We're about to launch Prism and clear stickers and sticker packs. We're also moving locations right now to 3 times bigger of a warehouse. I am busy. So on this episode, of course, we will touch on StickerWars and what's going on there, because our biggest competitor is wilding out. He is running for Congress. I know that you probably already know that if you're watching this podcast. And yes, I do mean the actual Congress, the big one in Washington, D.C. He is running for Elise Stefanik's seat in Congress. He has been thoroughly endorsed by Donald Trump, and he is saying wild cuckoo pants stuff. He has created a t-shirt that says, "I support Ice Ice Baby." Yeah, he sure did. He's also created a t-shirt that says "Stop Trans Propaganda." This is just the highlight reel. He's done many, many things. This is Anthony Constantino, my biggest competitor, who owns a company called Sticker Mule. If you are a longtime listener of the podcast, you know all of these things. So what is new now is that he keeps posting about Zoran Mondami's quote, "mommy and daddy." That's how he says it. His mommy and daddy taught him this. His mommy and daddy taught him that. I'm like, this is wild language, but cool. So he just said that Zoran Mondami's mommy and daddy taught him to love suicide bombers. He keeps saying that. And that Zoran Mondami is infiltrating the United States government and needs to be deported. I legally cannot say what I think. I legally cannot articulate about my competitor the degree of what I think about that, period. So I will let you decide what you think about that type of language. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. So I have a competitor who is just all of the pissing people off 100% of the time. He just created a page on his website. He sure did. The subtitle of the page, I want to get this right, so I'm going to look it up really quick. The subtitle on the page is "Building a MAGA Base in the North." Someone pointed out, like, wow, that's some interesting Civil War language right there. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of it that way, which I really didn't. Just somebody on the interwebs said that. Anthony Constantino has created a web page on Sticker Mule, talking about how he put $2.6 million of his own money into creating a quote MAGA base in the North to bring more MAGA presence to the northern part of New York State, and that he has committed to giving $3 million annually into this foundation to bring more MAGA into upstate New York. And I'm like, yikes. So he also has very publicly shared that he has become very wealthy creating this sticker company. Now, of course, the way that he did that, seeing he loves to talk about mommy and daddy, is that he inherited a promotional product company from his mommy and daddy that was selling paper products. And then out of that building that he inherited, and that staff that he inherited, and that business partner that he inherited, who he claimed had not seen the internet in 2011, and wrote Anthony a check for $200,000 to start a separated part of the company. This is all stuff that Anthony himself has stated. That's their origin story. However, now Anthony tells the story as if he created Sticker Mule just totally from scratch, period, that he's self-made. And I'm like, so when you inherit a building that is a very large building that I believe would have to be worth millions of dollars and lots of equipment and a big mailing list, all of your compliance is done. Like we've done all this regulatory compliance for the last 2 years to get every single thing in place, to get all of our little safety things in place, to get every single thing that you need to get in place, and even to be able to facilitate creating millions of dollars worth of merchandise, you would be starting beyond third base. The degree of ahead that puts you, you're like on the 1-yard line and about to score the touchdown at that point. You have everything in front of you. It is not difficult to roll out just a different type of promotional product, right? So you're making paper products and now you're making sticker products, which are made out of vinyl with a beautiful rebrand. They did a fantastic rebrand. Sticker Mule did a great job integrating with the internet. I'm not taking anything away from that, but it's really different when you start on the 1-yard line getting a touchdown than when you start on the 99th yard line. I don't know anything about football, so I may have said that analogy wrong, but you get what I'm saying. Now, it's wild the way that he is presenting his story versus the way that his story actually happened. Sticker Mule did bring him a lot of personal wealth, and I am guessing that Sticker Mule was way more successful than Noteworthy. I don't know, but I'm guessing that it was because Sticker Mule is a massively successful company that he did spin out of a company that he inherited. That good for him. That is fantastic. I am not taking anything away from that. I like it when people tell things the way that they actually happened, which is why I am so transparent on this podcast of what it actually takes to build a company like that. And if you inherit a very, very large company with all of the resources in a line and all of the duckies in a row, it's going to be way easier for you to get that company from having difficulties and maybe having a potential insolvency to having a very successful company, period. I say that all the time about Sticker Junkie. It's why I tell my story so transparently so that people understand exactly how they themselves can build a company. One of the hardest parts is securing startup capital. Now, as a multiple time serial entrepreneur, I was able to reach out to a bunch of different places and get capital. However, I have a wealthy family member and I called and asked my mom to borrow money. So I borrowed money from my mommy too. Hi, Mom. I'm paying that money back now. And I said that on the very first episode of the podcast because it's such a fucking massive advantage. Now, as a very long-term serial entrepreneur who knows a very, very lot of very, very wealthy people, there's a whole bunch of places that I could have gone and got money. But basically, nobody believes in me more than my mom does, right? And it was the easiest, fastest path to cash and to capital for me. And so I did take a $200,000 loan from my mom. I think it's very funny that Anthony Constantino took a $200,000 loan from his dad's business partner. I just think it's a funny coincidence. He has a dog named Tom. Anthony Constantino, my biggest competitor, the CEO of Sticker Mule, has a dog named Tom. And my growing up dog's name was Tom. So Anthony Constantino creates this company, Sticker Mule, out of Noteworthy, makes a lot of money from it. And he does. He makes millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars from it. So much, in fact, that he accidentally, overpaid his taxes by $8.3 million. And then for reasons best known to himself, shared that on Instagram. I don't understand why he did that, but he did. That's a weird flex. Guessing he got a new CPA firm after that. And that he has become very wealthy and continues to be very wealthy through selling stickers at his sticker company, Sticker Mule. And that his way of giving back to society is by funding his own run for Congress. So far, I know for sure that he's spent at least $7 million so far that have been claimed, and I need to go into the records to see how much it is at this point that he has spent of his own money running for Congress. In addition to that, he has now declared that he put $2.6 million into a company to bring MAGA politics and build a MAGA base. I'm doing air quotes for anybody that's listening on audio only. He put up a website on Sticker Mule talking about how he is going to build a MAGA base in the northern part of New York, and he's going to fund it with $3 million a year of his own money. And he has stated very publicly that his way of giving back is to put a ton of money into ultra-conservative politics and into MAGA politics. And I was like, say it louder for the people in the back who didn't hear you yet. I would love for your message to be widely heard. I would love for you to become very, very famous for your ultra-conservative political views. Have you been inside of an art department at a Fortune 5000 company? Because I have. I have been inside of a lot of them. I would love to tell you what they look like. For the most part, they look like women like me. They look like perimenopausal women who are in their 40s and 50s who are not here for stop trans propaganda t-shirts, nor are they here for I support Ice Ice Baby t-shirts, nor do they want the word retard brought back in a common conversation. They are also filled chock full of members of the LGBTQIA community. As a matter of fact, it's Pride tomorrow where I live in San Diego. So I will be going to the Pride Parade tomorrow in San Diego. Much love to my LGBTQ community. I am a proud, proud ally, and I stand proudly with all communities. Anthony, however, is making t-shirts that say, I support Ice Ice Baby and stop trans propaganda. I'm just like, go for it. I have my popcorn and my wine. That is the piping hot tea. And he is just becoming more and more and more and more and more vocal as this election heats up. And he will be running for office until November, until the elections in November, if there even are elections, as our fearless leader, Donald Trump, has just said some wild shit on television last night. Today is July 17th, basically indicating that he is going to be interfering with the elections in the United States. That is a dictator move. That's what dictators do. Obviously, this is not a political podcast, so I am very quickly going to jump right back into what we are doing at Sticker Junkie. But rest assured, besties, that I am going to be plotting and planning bazillions of reels, and we are going to be doing like a daily segment where we follow all of the goings on of Sticker Wars and of my biggest competitor running for Congress and how motherfucking lucky I am. Say something else. Just keep talking, brah. Just say anything. Just say any out loud words, and I will be thrilled with the out loud words that you say. Legit. Just keep going. Just keep going. Because just like every time that I think it can't get any wilder, it does. It does. This weekend, I have the lovely pleasure of going through my Sticker Wars folder, which basically just gets populated with like every single thing that is going on. Anthony Constantino at Sticker Mule running for Elise Stefanik's seat in Congress in NY 21 in upstate New York, which is a very, very, very MAGA area. They also have a lot of issues that need to be dealt with. They have a lot of hospitals that are on the brink of bankruptcy because of the cuts that the Republicans have done. And the thing is, it is just the Republicans who are slashing and burning healthcare. And the interesting thing, which has always been the interesting thing to me, I know this is not a political podcast, we're going right back to stickers, but is that all of this is very easily find outable. Like you can just go look at what the law is, you can read what the law is, and you can see who voted for it. Everything else is just a lie, period. But when you have a lot of people at the same time telling the same lie, and then you have the president of the United States telling the same lies, it can be very difficult for people to discern because they just have been so thoroughly indoctrinated with false information. It's just a crazy world that we're living in. Anyhow, this is not that podcast today. So we are going to dive into what we're doing at Sticker Junkie. We are massively expanding our sales. Okay. We have gone from $1,200 a day when I walked back into that company to just above $8,000 a day now. We are aiming to get to $22,000 a day by the end of the year through the release of sticker packs, as well as through securing a bunch of new clients, you guys. Woo! I have taken humongo client meetings in the last 2 weeks, none of which I can talk about. I do not publicly state who my clients are, but they are big ass clients. They are clients you know. These are products that you see and use every day. Stuff is going up and to the right with us. We are implementing a lot of these new clients into our system, which means that our sales are going to continue to spike. Our sales are up already 163% over last year. Yes, please, let's go. Yes, please, let's go. Our goal is 500% by the end of the year. Yes, please, let's go. I have discussions today about bringing in healthcare to our people, which I am very fucking excited about. We don't know how that's going to shake out. Eventually, we would love to be able to do 100% healthcare for people and for their spouses and dependents and everything. We most certainly cannot afford that right now. But we are going to be implementing some type of healthcare for our people like now, like before the end of July, before we can properly afford it. So right now at Sticker Junkie, here's what's happening. We're moving to a new location. It's 3 times bigger. We are expanding our sales exponentially. They're up 163% over last year. Yeah, already. We are running super fast. We just launched holographics. We're about to launch prism stickers, clear stickers, die cut magnets, and sticker packs. It is cuckoo pants crazy nuts at Sticker Junkie. We are hiring not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 new employees right now. And we're also coming more cohesively together as a team. So for the first couple of years when I was back in the company, there was no time for anything. The house was on fire. Everybody was sprinting in their own direction and doing every single thing that they could. And that has an end result of everybody not cohesively being on the same team. Brian and I just had a conversation yesterday afternoon of like, oh, we actually have to talk to each other again before the all hands meetings because we've been so busy that we don't even get together and go over the bullet points of the meetings. So sometimes midstream in meetings, he and I are not on the same page. That is not great. And I was like, oh, we need a patch around for this. It's nothing horrible or anything, but everything is coming back now to like, we have to stop sprinting and we have to just walk for a little while. There's a really great saying that my friend Griff from Combat Flip Flops, who is a special forces operator that started a flip flop company, and I was one of his advisors, he said, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I know that's a really common saying, but he's the one that really brought that to my attention. And I'm like, right. He's like, you have to run through an operation, figure out what you're going to do, take a fucking breath, calm down, walk slow, figure out what you're going to do together cohesively as a team. And once you have that foundational lay, you can fly. So we have been very deliberately laying our foundation for the past 2 years, but we have also been overwhelmingly busy. We have been understaffed, severely understaffed for the last 6 to 8 months because we cannot afford to hire any more people. We still can barely afford to hire any more people because while our sales are $8,012 a day, it actually costs baseline $8,800 a day to run the company. And that is before we add the additional cost of healthcare, before we add the additional $15,000 a month that the new building is going to cost us. That is before we add the cost of 4 new employees. And when we were in this all hands meeting, I asked Michi and Courtney, no holds barred, if money was not an issue, if money was taken off of the table, how many people do you actually need in design right now to be comfortable to get us to the next step of doubling our sales from right here where we are? And they said 3. We really need 2. 3 is better. I actually proposed that to them when they were talking back to me and kind of giving me an answer, and they didn't want to give me the real answer because we don't have money to hire 2. So we certainly don't have money to hire 3. And then I asked Brian and Dave and Alex in production, because Dana is out this week on a lovely vacation, good for her, how many people do we need in production? And they said, same answer. And we need 2, 3 is better. And I'm like, cool. So I actually need to onboard 6 new people right now. I have enough money to onboard 0 new people right now. We need to expand into a larger location. We just need to get more sales. And so the thing is that in a scaling company, this is always the case. Okay. So I am unbothered by this. I am just chill AF. I'm like, whatever. So this is always the case in a scaling company, okay? Like in a scaling company, you always need more money than what you have. That is why most people take in angel investors, take in private equity capital, etc., is because it is very, very difficult to bootstrap a company in the way that we have been bootstrapping this company. I have been running off of high interest credit card debt, high interest Shopify capital, high interest Shopify credit lines, etc., in order to be able to fund the next layer of the business. I have had and continue to have offers weekly, daily of people who would love to shove money into my pretty little pockets to get a piece of my company. This happens all of the motherfucking time. This happens like every single time I talk to one of my wealthy friends. They're like, are you taking investment right now? Would you like for me to give you a couple $100,000? The other day, somebody asked me if they could give me $1 million. And I said, no, thank you. I am very good. I need $1 million right now. Like I am walking through the desert and need a drink of water. However, what I really need is full control over my own company. And these are not $1 million, no strings attached dollars. As soon as you start to take in capital like that, the person who you took capital from is going to expect a very, very large return for the type of scale that we're building. And they're going to expect to get that through an exit that you have to a private equity company. We will absolutely never, ever, ever do a deal with a private equity company like what you saw happened with Ben and Jerry's, where they needed expansion capital in order to get distribution. And so they still maintained a lot of ownership over the company, except for that the deal was done with private equity. Well, once you do any kind of deal with a private equity company, anything can happen from there, because over the course of many, many years or many, many decades, that ownership can transfer hands, can change leadership, etc. So as soon as part of your company is funneled into there, it does get really dicey. It certainly can. And that is not something that we will ever, ever do at Sticker Junkie. Never, ever, 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 ever. It reminds me of that Taylor Swift song. We are never, ever, ever getting back together. We are never selling to private equity, period, at all whatsoever. As a matter of fact, as I've stated on previous episodes, we are going to look into a proper structure that I do not believe exists, where the company will just benefit the people that work at the company without breaking up ownership shares into different people in the company. If you break up the ownership shares themselves, someone gets divorced, someone dies, it's almost always the death of a company, in my personal opinion. It needs to be structured more like a land trust. So I'm working with people to figure out a proper structure. We have a company right now that is $2.7 million in debt and not yet profitable. So it is not really essential for me to figure out that piece for another year or year and a half. But I always talk about a bonding curve. So for people listening on audio only that are new, a bonding curve basically is the up and to a right curve that starts flat, 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 flat. And then all of a sudden it curves really high and straight up to the sky. It's when you see exponential growth in something, right? It's like if you bought Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or some crypto when it was like $10, and then all of a sudden it's $100,000. That rate of exponential growth is called a bonding curve. And that is what we are aiming for in this company. We already have gone from 438,000 in annual revenue to 3.1 million in annual revenue in 2 years. We should be at least above 10 million this year. Our stretch goal of 22 million is just looking a little bit out of reach. We'll see the numbers that we actually hit, because I will share the numbers that we actually hit, but I do still am pretty confident that we're still good for $10 million in annual revenue this year once we get the sticker packs launched, which should happen in the next couple of weeks, and launch all of the other ancillary merchandise that we're doing and get fully distributed through some of our clients. I'm really hoping that one of our fast food clients takes this through their whole entire system, and every single person that works for this organization has access to our system to purchase from us. That will be many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in revenue. And we have several different types of companies that are getting more and more and more integrated within our system. We're also taking on more and more and more mid-tier clients that buy like anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 worth of stickers per year. We just closed another one of those clients this week that looks like they'll probably buy about $150,000 to $250,000 of stickers a year, fingers crossed, if their estimates are correct. So as we continue to just trudge forward and do the work day by day by day by day by day by day by day, it's been increasing our revenue. But quite frankly, a 60% lift in our revenue doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't feel hard to keep up with. It just feels like, okay, we have 60% more work. And we're about to come into the phase of the company where we have 400 times the revenue, like overnight, like what happened with Stickergate. We have a tidal wave like that coming that's going to break. When you see something like StickerWars made The Daily Show, and Josh Johnson, again, one of my favorite comedians, did a segment on like the sticker world. Yes, please, let's go. Josh, I would love to be on your show. Josh, really for reals, if you ever see this. I was a contestant on The Apprentice, okay? And my biggest competitor is losing it over his love for Donald Trump and really hyper segmenting who is going to buy stickers from him. Because when he directly correlates his company to ultra conservative MAGA politics, we can just look at the case study of MyPillow and how that company did when they tied themselves very, very closely to ultra conservative MAGA politics. We are seeing a resurgence of this. Now we shall see if it goes any differently for our friends over at Sticker Mule, but couldn't ask for more in a competitor. Just the facts, ma'am. Couldn't ask for more in a competitor. Yes, please, let's go. Say something else, Anthony. Anything. Just say anything. So just a couple days ago actually was the 2-year anniversary of when Stickergate actually happened, and Sticker Mule went hyper political. It has taken us these 2 years to get our compliance duckies up in a row to where we can even take in $12 million in revenue. However, once we get to $12 million in revenue, it will only take us a couple months to land enough equipment to get to 24. Then it will only take us 3 or 4 months to be able to go from 24 million in revenue to 48 million in revenue. Then it will only take us maybe 6 or 7 months to be able to go from 48 million in revenue to 96 million, or to about 100 million in revenue. And then over the course of the following year, we should be able to go from 100 to 300. And then over the course of the year after that, we should be able to go from 300 million in revenue to $1 billion in annual revenue. That's how a bonding curve works. So it's one of those things that doesn't seem real until it happens. That's why I keep doing the podcast. That's also why when I miss a couple weeks, I'm like, it's still going to be a compelling story. And sometimes I'm just too busy in the midst of it to actually record a podcast that week. And sometimes, you guys, I'm fucking tired. I am like a machine these days. Okay. I worked literally all day, every day, no days off for 27 months. You guys saw it happen if you followed the podcast. I had food poisoning for 4.5 or 5 days where I literally, it felt like I was going to die. I had intense, insane vertigo. I had my friends, my neighbors, thanks, John and Ann, thank you, were coming over and taking care of me and making sure that I was getting fluids and like just literally just getting water and bringing it to me in my bedroom because I was so incapacitated. And when I was awake, I was still doing emails. I was still balancing my books. I was still being as present as I could when I was like, I think I might die. Yeah, no days off, none. If I stopped for 4 hours at night and had a glass of wine and did Legos, the quantity of guilt that I would feel because I could be doing work for those 4 hours was intense. And when that 27 months was over, my numbers weren't where I needed them to be. So I still continued doing that for another month and a half. It was 28 and a half months before I took even the majority of a day off. I still do not believe that I've taken an actual full day off where I didn't do multiple hours of work since coming back into this company, because I'm still $2.7 million in debt. And so until I am completely out of debt, easy street, like my car has 400,000 miles on it. The quantity to which I need to buy a new car is high, but I need to get my company to true stability and actual safety first, which means that I need to make about $14 million in revenue. Anywhere from 12 to 14 is going to feel easy street. It's going to feel safe. It's going to feel like we can save up and buy a piece of land and build out our campus. It's going to feel like everybody is way above a living wage. It's going to feel like I am safe and comfortable and I have my retirement savings back and I have bought a house and I'm safe, secure, out of debt, easy street. And then from there, it's optional. Do we maintain a company that does $12 to $14 million in annual revenue? That is a great company. That's phenomenal. But the answer is no. The answer is that we take over the top part of the sticker space and we get those big contracts, those big government contracts, those big contracts with universities, those big contracts with Fortune 5000s, those big contracts with sports teams, with pop stars, with huge nonprofits. And then we also onboard all of the cool businesses. Yeah. All of the dispensaries, breweries, tattoo shops, they order hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stickers a year. Now they're more distributed through the small vendors, through the sticker vendors who are the size of my company right now. But that is one of our favorite segments of people. And the larger that the brewery is, for example, that might have like 7 restaurants and 3 different brewing locations and a distribution area, etc. We integrate really well with those types of companies because we give ubiquitous access to corporate artwork to all of those different areas in a way that is secure and awesome and that only we do. So we are ready to go run and jump and fly and exponentially grow our sales. And I have never been busier in my life. And so it's a lot, right? It's all a lot growing and scaling a company this way. It takes a cuckoo pants crazy nuts quantity of time, energy, attention, effort. And on top of that, life be lifing. And I have other obligations and commitments outside of Sticker Junkie just for life that are taking a lot of time. And so I have never been busier in my whole entire life. But it's also causing me a lot of reflection of like, okay, cool. What do I need to be involved in? What needs to be delegated, etc. However, right now, my little fingers need to be in everything, and so do everybody else's. Because, like I started to say earlier, we're all sort of flying in our own different directions and sprinting and running really fast. But now is the time to walk, despite the fact that it feels like we might need to sprint and really figure out, like, hey, what is the fastest, most streamlined, easiest process to do an assembly line? What is the best way to set up the new space that we're in? How do we granularly go through every single thing in the company and get anything that's out of place back into place? And how do we do this cohesively as a team? And we're doing something really different in Sticker Junkie. Like we used to do like a production meeting and then a design meeting and then a meeting of production and design. And sometimes we would do customer service, sometimes we would do marketing, sometimes we would do social media, etc. And we would do an all hands, but the all hands was mostly just me informing everybody of what was going on in that all hands meeting. And now we have made it a completely collaborative thing. We no longer do a separate meeting because we're a really small team. So what that means is that everybody on the whole team is meeting together. And that means everyone on the team understands what is going on with production, what is going on with design, what is going on with customer service, what is going on with social media, with marketing, with sales, with any generalized updates, with operations. Everybody is just on the same page because before it was getting a little fractured, a little fragmented. Some people knew some things, some people knew other things. Sometimes things would come up in the design meeting that production really needed to know about. But because we're just human beings doing our best, the information wouldn't be conveyed quite the same way, and vice versa. Sometimes stuff would be coming up in customer service, but because they weren't in either one of the meetings, it's sort of this game of telephone. Now we have this meeting where everybody can figure out all of the different areas of what is going on within the company. So we're coming into this golden age. We get to take a field trip next Tuesday to the new building and check out the new space, which I am freaking so excited about. You guys. It's going to be the first time that the team sees this 3x bigger of a space. So far, the only people that have been over there are myself, Brian, Jenny, and then Dave, who is our production manager, who's actually going to switch over to becoming sort of a project manager. And one of the projects, the first projects that he's doing is helping to coordinate the move. And Sasha, who was filming it for social media. And the space is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's fully weather temperature controlled. Like in our current space, we have an office interior space, and then we have a warehouse space in the back. And in the new space, it's just going to be so much nicer. We are in San Diego, but it does get hot in San Diego and it does get cold in San Diego. So it's going to be really nice to have all of our equipment in an enclosed, weather protected space. Wow. I'm so excited. I'm just thrilled. We have 2 big warehouse areas, but they're just temperature controlled. So it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to show it to you guys. It's going to be beautiful. I have given instructions to make every inch of this new space Instagrammable. Yeah. And there's just going to be a different vibe. I always say this with people. Everybody has cycles that they go through, right? They have ups, they have downs. Anybody in any business, they're going to be more engaged with their job at sometimes. They're going to be less engaged with their jobs at sometimes. And corporate America really has fallen very far away from understanding that people are people and that they have lives outside of their jobs. As well, they should. And I think that the biggest change that's going to come in Sticker Junkie, in keeping with like people do really have their own lives is going to be when we are finally able to transition over to a 4-day-a-week, 10-hour workday. That is going to feel like vacation vibes for everyone. Once we also are on a 4-day-a-week, 10-hour workday and we are paying for 100% of healthcare, pick of the litter. For job applicants, when we are starting people in, it'll be something like we hire in at $25 an hour. If you make it to 3 months, you go to 27. When you're there at some point over the course of the next year, you get to 32. And then it will just increase from there. Our goal is that at the end of this year, everybody that's been with us for more than a year is above $32 an hour. By the end of next year, anybody that's been with us for more than 2 years is at $41 an hour. And we will just consistently keep up with paying a living wage from there. I truly believe that every person in every company should be making 35% higher at least than what it costs to live wherever they are. Because that means like I can take my kid to a Padres game. I can take my kid to the zoo. I can travel around the world. I can take a month off and go visit Europe if I want to. Whatever. Hike the Pacific Crest Trail. Do whatever you want. Live your fucking life. And everyone when I was a kid was able to do that, and everybody was way fucking happier. People didn't hate their neighbors. They didn't go into these anger loops and get stuck into this bullshit that people are stuck into now. They were enjoying each other. They had time to volunteer at like a local humane society or whatever was the most important to them. They had time to care for a sick family member. They had time to raise their kids, and they had a community to help them raise their kids. It's changed so dramatically in the last 40 or 50 years to where we've become so isolated and so staring at screens and so disconnected from each other and so angry with our neighbors. This is all intentional. This is all by design. This is all on purpose. It is way easier to rule people who are incredibly angry than it is and dissatisfied with their lives than it is to control people who are happy and thriving. And that's why this has been done. This is incredibly intentional and on purpose. And one of the easiest ways to actually unwind this is to give people enough money to reasonably be able to afford to live and to live a really good feeling life. And it creates a kick-ass environment. And so while we are absolutely not there yet, we are still paying our people between $25 and $29 an hour. We are hiring new people in right now at anywhere from $22 to $24 an hour. At the 3-month mark, they go from anywhere from $24 to $25 an hour. And by the 1-year mark, they'll be at $32 an hour. And it's just such a journey to be able to, as a small business, afford to pay for that. And it's why I share real numbers, because people just shame small businesses on the internet of like, well, you're just paying poverty wages. And I'm like, bitch, that's all I can afford to pay. When I came back into the company, I could only afford $18 an hour to hire people in San Diego. And by the way, that's still more than a lot of places pay. That's above a minimum wage, but that is not a good wage. I am so thankful that my lowest person is paid $25 an hour right now. I wish my lowest person that's on my current team was paid $32 an hour already, but we can't afford it. We need to make at least $7, $8, $9 million a year to be able to just like comfortably hit the salaries that I'm going for. We need to make $10 or $12 million a year before we can really comfortably afford to pay for 100% of healthcare, because if you have one person that's using their healthcare benefits a lot, that's going to double the insurance for everyone. There's all kinds of considerations being taken into effect, especially because healthcare coverages just went up 60%. When the Republicans in Congress passed that monstrosity, big, beautiful bill, it stripped out all safety nets in healthcare, certainly made a huge bite in them. And, you know, who can handle that? My healthcare coverage went from $600 a month as a very, very healthy person all the way up to $1,926 a month. Then I got another lower quote for like $1,300, but it is profoundly, ridiculously out of control. And so for us as a company to cover healthcare costs is cuckoo pants crazy nuts, because that's still going to be how much my healthcare coverage comes out to. And everybody else is too. And I don't have a spouse and I don't have any dependents. So we'll have people who, if we go with a premium plan, that plan costs $2 or $3 grand a month. And we obviously right now cannot afford that. That just is what is. So I'm really curious to see how everything plays out with our sales, because once our sales are past a certain point, I will not take $3 million a year out of my company to go fund whatever thing. Like Anthony is putting $3 million a year of his own money continually, annually, into funding his initiative, which you can see on the Sticker Mule corporate website, to build a MAGA base in the North. Interesting language, in the North. Harken that back to history. When he does that, like, that money is coming from somewhere, and he's very publicly stating that he makes his money through Sticker Mule. He has publicly stated that many times, and that this is his way to give back, is through ultra MAGA politics. He self-identifies as MAGA, as super MAGA. I'm like, cool, amazing. I'm glad you support Ice Ice Baby. Wild. Will not do that. I will not be taking $3 million a year out of my company unless and until my employees also are getting top tier benefits. And I don't know what they pay over there. I don't know if he does a profit share participation. I don't know if he pays the living wage. He very well might. I have heard very good things about the compensation packages at Sticker Mule. I have no idea what they are, period, other than the ones that they post publicly on the website, which I certainly do look at. On the Sticker Mule corporate website, I obviously check out all of my competitors. I know what Sticker Giant is doing. I know what Sticker App is doing. I keep an eye on everyone of the large players. Sticker Giant, of course, is owned by a multi-billion-dollar private equity fund. Sticker App, of course, is owned by a multi-billion-dollar private equity fund. And really, in the United States, it's only Sticker Giant, Sticker Mule, and myself that are sort of capable of doing what I'm doing. There's 2 other brands that like might be able to do stuff that I've talked about before, except for that I found out that they took an outside investment at some point, which means that at some point they most likely, almost for sure, I won't even say who they are, but they most likely for sure are going to sell to private equity. That's the route. Once you take in outside capital to private equity and do all of the things that I see these particular competitors doing, that is going to be their exit strategy, because that's how people retire. And that's not something that I'm going to do. And so I don't give them any press, because they're just going to be another private equity company soon, is my best guess. So that's the deal. That's the deal. That's the word on the street. Plus, also, just FYI, there's a lot of room in this space. Like, it's a multi-billion-dollar space. Even if I get to $1 billion in revenue, that will not be all of the clients. Just won't. And so I'm excited to see where things go. My estimate is that this is a $42 billion space, certainly once you roll in all of the promotional items. But what I am fucking saying is that I think that the value of what people spend on stickers has been profoundly underestimated. However, people do buy 3 or 4 times as much stickers from us as they do from other people, especially large corporations. That is the feedback that I get because of what we do with them and how we implement stuff with them and the ideas that we give them and the tech integrations that we give them. It just makes it all easier. And spoiler alert, people like easy things. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire. I hope that you enjoy watching our journey to getting to $1 billion in revenue. Let's see if we actually do or not. And taking over the tippy-toppest tier of the sticker space. Just a heads up, it is very, very likely that I will not have another podcast for you guys until August 7th, that I will be taking the next 2 weeks away on hiatus. It is also possible that so much happens that I go ahead and drop in another episode, but just fair warning in advance, shit is busy as fuck. I am busy as fuck, and I just don't know. So I'm just letting you know in advance. It might be here and it might not. However, once we move into the new space, besties, you are going to have consistent content from me. More than likely, you will have more than 1 podcast per week. You will have 2. Please, please, please give us a like, give us a follow. Please subscribe to us, okay? It helps other people find us. It makes me feel good. And if you listened all the way through the podcast, pop a like into wherever you are. Pop a 5-star rating into wherever you are. And I will come back to you again on August 7th. I might do a bonus episode in between here and there, but I'm so busy that I just need to take a breath. And I also need to take time and cut all of the episodes that we've done so far into clips for the interwebs, because we are just right now finally in a position where we can promote the podcast and we can hit exponential sales. We know what we will do internally as a company if we all of a sudden get 5 or 10 times as many daily sales as we are right now. We have everything set into place and plans of what we will do when that happens, because there is a tidal wave. She is a comin'. It seems to people like the story has broken wide. What I am promising you is that this story has not broken wide yet. This story at some point should go like Coldplay Affair level of wide, like Scandival level of wide, where you're just like, I don't even own a television. I don't watch television. And I heard about that to the degree that I did watch that season of Vanderpump Rules. Yeah. Sure did. And then I just saw Tom Sandoval on The Traitors, which strong recommend that show. Just watched that show. Might apply to be on that show. That show is fan-fucking-tastic. So stay tuned for that. Anyhow, that's it for me today. You guys, thanks for joining the journey on Andrea Lake 101, the making of a billionaire. Until then, enjoy your popcorn, enjoy your wine, and I will come back to you on August 7th with all of the piping hot tea.